me on paper and me wasting paper, I found a way to put it on Google Classroom. And we're gonna type it together, okay? So what you're looking for is the 6-3 intro to credit, right? You're gonna click on that. And then you each have your own copy. So there'll be like a Jesse Chavez copy, there'll be a Valeria copy, all that. So you're gonna click on your copy. I'm just gonna click on someone who wasn't here. I'm gonna click on the winners. And then we're gonna fill this out together. So let me get rid of this. Let me make it bigger. Alright, so here.
Wait, this is not 12, right?
It's financial literacy meeting. So let's just do a little discussion question real quick. If someone were to grade you on your financial habits, what kind of grade would you get? Explain why you would receive that grade. So what do you mean by financial habits, first of all?
Spending?
Yeah, spending, and what's the opposite of spending?
Saving.
What did you say? Gaining, and what did you say, Nate?
Saving?
Saving. So it's all three of those things. How much your income is, which is gaining, how much you're spending, what do you put out, and then how much are you saving for yourself in the future. Cool? So, what kind of grade did you get? Like, think of a grade A through F, right? So, are you a really good saver? Are you a really terrible saver and you just make it rain all the time? What kind of grade would you give? Think about it.
About a C.
A C? Yeah, I'm like I consider myself like a high C, low D. Like, I want to start saving more. Definitely.
But Greg, it's kind of hard, bro.
Why?
Because there's a lot of like bills or like.
Sure, yeah. Everyone's got bills. You gotta pay.
People like, they emphasize like.
Yeah, definitely.
Material.
So, like, here, what kind of grade would you give yourself? An F? You just spend all the time. But at least you get some money, you have a job, right? So, yeah, it might be an F, and that's okay. So let's go over what are our essential questions today. So we're gonna learn about the 5 factors taken into account when calculating credit scores. We'll learn what those 5 are. Okay, there, read that second one. And all this is on your Google Classroom, sorry.
What is the range of possible credit scores and what does it mean to have prime credit?
So we'll learn at the end what is prime credit. Basically, there's prime, near prime, and subprime. Subprime is our scores that are in like the 300 range. Near prime is like 500 to 600, and then prime are some. Yeah, thank you for raising your hand.
And so, what do you start at?
You start at 0. If you don't have any credit, you just have 0. And then the first time you get a loan, you're already. It might bounce you up to like a 300 already, depending on your payment history. So if you're paying payments on time, you're already at a 300. And then if you make another payment, it's going to jump up even higher and higher and higher every time you make an on-time payment.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
my mom, I think it's like called a 401k. So
That's for
whatever money she puts in, her job matches it.
Yeah, and that's something different. We'll get into retirement funds later on in there.
But I have one more question. My uncle, he works for the state, but so he puts in 20% and his job puts in 80.
Oh, match at 8. So that's a good, yeah.
But that,
I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just teaching you about finances. So, what's your question?
like, so basically, what's the difference between that? Like, and
Between retirement funds and then saving for credit scores?
no. What's like the difference between a 401k and what the state provides? And
We'll get into that. Nate. That's later on in the year. Right now, we're just looking at credit. Okay.
I have
So,
a question.
well, yeah.
How are you supposed, like, say, why is it that you can't, like, work on your credit before you're 18?
That's a good question. That's just a law that's in place that was.
So that sucks because then you get a debit card when
Exactly.
you're 16.
You know, 16, but that's you're
I
working
don't
towards
think
that.
I don't think they think you're responsible enough for a credit card yet, because when you
They see you as a high risk because you're so young and
all you know how to
quote
stay with
immature. Like they see you as a high risk that you're just gonna blow it and never pay it back. You're like, haha, F it. You know? Like I'm never gonna pay it back.
Technically, isn't that what every adult does, though?
I don't like.
I'm just saying for, like, people with student loans, like, they
Oh,
make
sure.
they're, like, dead, basically.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
like,
Well, yeah, people put off their student loans because they're like, oh, it's not gonna affect my credit, and it totally affects their credit, and then they're well. So keep these essential questions in mind as we're going through this. So you guys should be here. I don't know how to get this up.
You're gonna have to give me time, but I remember that part.
Okay, so go to your Google Classroom, so let's start from the beginning. You're on Google Classroom?
Yeah.
Okay, so scroll down till you see
Uh-huh.
6-3 intro to credit.
Okay.
And you'll see your name up in the right where it says Keith Chavez Word Doc. Click on that.
That's weird. I didn't get my Word doc.
So now, because I didn't want to waste paper, I'm trying to be all environmentally aware. So we're gonna do this
Trying to
together.
save the turtles or what?
Let's try to save the turtles and the fish and the bees, all that. So we're gonna know all you need to know about credit scores. So let's look at these questions. So when I did this in first period, this infographic wouldn't come up. So these are very Googleable questions. We can easily Google them. So I want you to do these. We'll do this together. What percent of Americans do know their credit score?
Can't even see.
Are you? Oh, you still can't say? Okay.
You're not.
What about now, Nate? Is that better or no? So Google it and then tell me what your results are. So what percent of Americans know their credit score? And then ask yourself if you're in that group. I'm sure most, I'm not saying you guys don't know, but maybe some of you don't know.
Most of us are underage.
Yeah, like if you're obviously if you're underage, you probably wouldn't know your credit score. But if you know you're underage and you don't have credit, what's your credit score? I just went up. Is it? Yeah. So I got 30% over here. Do you know their credit score? Let me see what you got.
Right, mine's pending.
Here's a pending.
Yeah, it says pending.
I hope your credit score 30%. Oh no. I'm trying to find out what percent of the population knows their credit.
Where's that?
I just want you to Google it. So you tell me the results you find. The first question, it says, what percent of Americans do know their credit score? And then you guys type in your answer right there. Alright, let's see, Cameron's got something. Yep, this is what we found earlier.
2 out of 11?
So what's the percent? How would you find that as a percent?
So wouldn't it be like 26, 5?
26. Oh, so you would find that by putting it into a decimal, 2 divided by 11, right? You get a decimal, multiply that by 100, you get a percent. So yeah, what she found right here. So the lower scores. So the way I did it. So I'm gonna plug in Karen's real quick.
Wait, it's 26%?
No, it's not. How did you get that, Nate?
Oh, I bet you said it was 26 out of 100.
No, I didn't say that actually.
Then what did the 26 one?
I don't know. You're making it. Just kidding.
I think you're the one. You're in 6-1.
Oh, wait.
Wait. Wait, that. I'm going to show you guys how to find this because this is the result we found in first period. We try blowing this up as much as possible.
76.
Because yeah, unfortunately, oh, that's too much. That's too much. So here are the range of FICO scores on the right. I'm sorry, on the left.
Well, you can only check it once a year, so probably.
Yes. Yeah, but at least you know it. It doesn't matter when you check it, but at least you are aware of what your score is.
Or what it was prior, right?
Exactly.
So what if you check it and it changes?
You won't know till next year. And then you can see it, but you can ask for, remember, Nate, we went over this last class. You can ask for your credit report whenever you want, as many times as you want. But your credit score, you can only ask for up to once a year.
But
Then you can kind of determine your credit score
can
depending
you
on your
calculate
credit
it
score.
or what?
Yeah, and I'll show, well, by the end of this, you'll be able to know. So, right here, so here are the FICO score ranges, 750 to 799. 90% of people are in that range. And then people below that range is 63%. So that obviously doesn't equal 100, right? 19 plus 60, that would be roughly 80%. So what's the percent of people that don't know their score?
80%.
No, so 60 plus 20, I'm rounding up to 20. 60 plus 20 would give us 80, so there's a 20% difference,
Oh, yeah.
right? So 20%, you can just say 20% of people in the US don't know their credit scores. Does that make sense? That's what I want for the first one. Thank you, Karen.
I think
That should be number one.
You should never start off as second.
So I'm gonna go around and check you guys.
Oh, now you're.
Just put in like a bullet point. See, we're on number one. So 20%, 20% don't have credit score. 20% of Americans. Good. Not. So we'll read off number two, the second question. I couldn't hear you. I was right next to you. It wasn't because everyone was talking. We were like really quiet. Go ahead and read it one more time louder.
What credit score range do you think is likely that bank will offer you a credit?
Hold on, let me go back to mine. So it's asking, at what credit score is it unlikely that the lender will lend you money, right? At what credit score range do you think it's unlikely that banks would offer you a loan or a credit card?
0.
0. What were you saying? No, that's what I wanted. You were right. So in the 300 to 400 range, 300 to 500 range, it's unlikely they will give you a credit card or a loan. That's what I want for number 2. Okay, so you're gonna write 300 to 500.
Can you be an adult with a credit score at 0?
Can you what?
Be an adult with a credit score.
Yeah, if you've never worked in your life or never bought anything.
If you live under a rock and you live in a cave and you just live off the land, yeah, absolutely. Alright, and now we're going to dive right into it. What are the 5 factors taking into credit scores? So I'm going to help you guys. This is a very Googleable question, as I call it.
Craig, do you have a credit card?
Do I have a credit card? No, I do not.
You don't?
I do not.
I feel like you're lying.
Why would I lie? What do I have to gain from lying about that? What was the question?
I
What
don't
are the
know.
5 5 factors. If you guys want to Google this too, I encourage you to. 5 factors into calculating your credit. So here they are. I'm going to break them down. This is the website we used in first period,
But like, can't you?
and it breaks it down to the importance of it. Huh?
Well, can't you show like you paying your bills on your credit card? They improve like as much money as you want. Like it can go from 500 to a grand 500, or like.
No, it's not going to go up that much thing. So like if you're at a 500 credit score and you make one on-time payment,
No.
it's not going to jump up 500.
What I'm talking about is if you're paying your bills on time with a credit card, the money in the credit card go up.
Oh, will your limit go up? No, you have to reapply for another credit card with a different limit. Will it go up? Do you know? I don't have, it can go up. So yeah, I guess it can go up. I don't know because I don't have a credit card, but I would imagine you would have to reapply for another credit card with a different limit to it. So people, like when you go to Wells Fargo, they give you a credit card, they say, okay, here's your credit card, you qualified, it has a $1,000 limit on it. So you can't exceed that limit or else your card gets declined, right? So you go and buy a $700, we'll get into that. You buy a $700 TV, right? Or a $1,500 iPhone, well you can't do that. $800 iPhone, right? You swipe it using credit, you're still below your limit of 1,000. So as long as you're making payments on that 800, you're fine. But you never want to get close to that, and we'll talk about that in a second, okay? So here are the 5, these are what you're gonna put. Let me blow this up again. We're not gonna watch that.
My eyesight is horrible.
Yeah, I'm gonna blow this up, I'm sorry. Oh, this is actually isn't the same one. But it has the same information.
Is there scam websites for that?
Scam websites?
Yeah. That you put in your information?
I don't think so. I'm sure there are, but if you, I guess it is. So, we're gonna use, this is not the same one. But it has the same, here are the 5 things that determine your credit score. Payment history, we'll talk about credit utilization, length of credit history, new credit, and credit mix. So that's where you're gonna answer for number 3.
All those?
Yeah, just these 1 through 5. Yeah, and then we'll talk about each one right now, what they mean. Payment history. Let's see if I can pull up the other one.
They're bringing Fortnite back.
Alright, so let's go to each. Did you guys type all these down? The 5? Okay, let's talk about each one. Can you, besides the people in the front, let's just read that first paragraph, payment history. Karen, can you read it?
Says 35% of the total credit score and the most important factors in calculating credit scores according to this.
FICO.
As long-term behaviors used to forecast future long-term behavior.
Good. So this is the most important when calculating your credit. They want to see just list after list of what you're paying on time and what you're not paying on time. That makes the most sense, right? Are you credit worthy? Makes obvious sense. Number 2, let's go down to that credit utilization. Nikki, can you read that one? Just the first 2 paragraphs.
Alright, credit utilization is a percentage of available credit that has been borrowed makes up 30% of your total credit score. Since FICO views borrowers who habitually max out credit cards or who get very close to their credit limits as people who cannot handle debt responsibly. Try to maintain low credit card balances. FICO says people with the best scores tend to have an average credit utilization ratio of less than 6% with 3 accounts carrying balances and less than 3,000 owed on revolving accounts.
So there's a lot of information there. It's all pretty scary, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to follow. Adriana, open up your Chromebook and go to Google Class. Huh? Okay, that's fine. What was I gonna say? So credit utilization just means me and Nate were talking about that earlier. Are you getting close to that limit of that's given to you? So if KJ has a limit of $1,000 credit card, and he's always maxing it out, right? He's always like, yeah, I'm gonna spend 500 here, 250 here, and 250 here. That would make 1,000. He's always getting to that limit. You're actually seeing it as a risk because you're always maxing out credit cards, and it's not a good limit.
How do you add maximization to your credit though?
That's good. So yeah, actually Nate and Karen were just talking about that. So I guess by making on-time payments, and you make the exact amount, you can actually qualify for more money that is offered to you. So good question. Alright, so now the second one. We're just going over what you already typed, but what they mean to you, okay? So length of credit history, Christina, can you do that? I'll try to do that a little more. Is that better? Okay, go ahead.
Length of credit history.
Read the first 2 paragraphs.
The length of time each account has been open and the length of time since the account's most recent action is 15% of your total credit score. It's impossible to have a perfect credit score if you're new to credit, but it doesn't necessarily take long to achieve a high score. A longer credit history provides more information and offers a better picture of long-term financial behavior.
Good. So think about it, you guys, some of you have credit, some of you don't, but think about your parents, right? They may or may not have better credit just simply because they've been alive longer, right?
My mom has an 812.
Okay, that's pretty good. That's at 850, that's awesome. So she can go out and get like any kind of rate, or not any kind of rate, any kind of loan at a very low rate, right? So that's awesome. I know someone else in this class has a darn near perf credit score. That's awesome. I'm like in the middle, it's not bad. It's like in the 650, so it's not great, but it's not good. Just a thing. So length of credit history is basically how much you're using your credit. Just simply because you've been alive longer. So did I skip one? New credit, what is that? I'll read this one. Well, new credit accounts for 10% of your total FICO's credit score, but this doesn't mean that opening multiple credit lines at the same time will improve your score. In fact, such behavior could suggest you are in financial trouble by needing a significant access to lots of credit. So if you're always applying for credit cards, that's new credit. Like, oh man, I maxed out this credit card, I'm gonna go over to this bank and ask for a credit card. Oh, I maxed out that one, I'm gonna go to another institution and get another credit card. That's what they mean by new credit. You're always opening up new credit cards. Because, and then the more you have, the more new credit you have, the more of a risk you are in the eyes of the bank. Does that make sense? Cool. And credit mix. I'm gonna just paraphrase this one, I'm not really gonna read it. Think of it as like a salad, right? So you have lettuce, you have tomatoes, you have your dressing, you have all the ingredients you want. It doesn't make up a huge, it's not a huge part of the calculation when determining your credit score. Just because you have a home loan and student loans and you have a credit card payment, just because you have all these different loans, it's not gonna affect your credit score. So if you have a lot, let's say you have one home loan, one student loan, and a car payment, right? Just because you have those three and it's a mixture of different things, it's not gonna hurt your credit score just because you have those three things open. Okay, so actually when you go back to your assignment, what are the 5 factors? Put the percentage of how much it makes up. So the first first two are 30%. 30%. And then you'll see that all these add up to 100%. 30, let me get you caught up here, John, right here in a sec. 30%. The next one is 15%. And then 10. Oops. 10. So new credit is 10%, and credit mix was 10%. Okay? So hopefully you have what makes up your credit score, and then the percentages next to it. Yeah, we're on number 2. I'll get you caught up if you want to run during flex. I'll get you caught up there. But now we're moving on to number 3, okay? Cool. Was that the last question? Alright, Nikki, read off number 4. Sorry, 30, 30, 15, 10. And if you add all those up, right? If you add all these up, you get 100%, right? 30 plus 30 is 60. That is, I think this was 35. Sorry, the first one was. You get 95, right? Sorry, 35%. 30 plus 35 is 65%. 80, 90, 100. All those add up. So let's discuss this as a class. Say you've got a credit score of 750 and you miss one credit card payment. Will this impact your credit score more or less than if your original score was 650? Why do you think? So do you think it's going to hurt you more if you miss a payment if you have a credit score of 650, or do you think it's going to hurt you more if you have a credit score of 750?
750.
Why?
Because the higher your credit score is, the more like, I don't know how to say it, like the more value your credit is. So like the one time you miss it, the faster it goes down.
Okay, interesting. Does anyone else have anything else to say about that?
I know because my mom owns 2 cars right now that she's paying lease on.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever she missed the payment on one of the cars, like her credit dropped like almost like 100 points.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's exactly why. Yeah. So I want you guys to paraphrase what KJ said. So it does hurt you more. I'm sorry, less than if your score was 650.
Just because your credit score
Yeah.
is more.
You're seeing it as less of a risk, and then all of a sudden when you miss it, they're like, "Whoa, what's happening with this person?" You know. So that's what I can help you word it if you need help. So underneath number 4, if you guys want to use a bullet point or a lowercase letter, that's fine. So it hurts less. Oops, I put hurst. It will impact your score less if score was 650 because you are seen as small risk okay? That's about what you guys should have. If you want to copy that, if you want to paraphrase it, I'm all about it, okay? So we're moving on to number 5. So let's go through the questions first, and then you guys are gonna answer these questions as after the video, okay? So, Estrella, read the first one.
What is the scale for minimum to maximum possible credit score?
And I think you guys can answer that without the video, but it's always good to know. And then, let's see, Jesse, read the second one. Yeah, we're on section 3, question 2.
Usually want to have a high credit score or
Okay, I think you guys don't even need to watch the video to answer that one. Can you read the third one there, Isaac? Number 3.
Given history and total debt together compromise 65% of the score. Why do you think it's so high?
Okay, and Adriana, can you read the fourth one?
Does the method for calculating credit scores seem fair to you? Why or not?
Alright, so you guys are gonna watch this short video, and I'm pretty sure most of those you don't even need the video to explain. Let me turn off the lights.
What are you gonna order? I'm thinking taco.
Hey, have you checked your credit score recently?
What you mean, I can't afford taco?
No, I'm just curious.
Oh, you did? Well, yeah, I have checked it recently and I got like 100, you know, which my guy says it's one of the highest scores I've ever seen. So, you know, Taco Tuesday, here I come. What, you don't like taco or something?
No, your guy? Come on. Everyone knows that the highest credit score that you can get is 1,000.
That's what I meant. Hey, I messed up the word. It was a flow. You know, when I said 100, I just forgot the other zero. Different word. 1,000 credits is what I meant to say. Totally not 1,000 credits.
Okay, so to be clear, credit scores don't go up to 1,000. The scale runs from 300 to 850. And while I'm at it, there are a few other things you should know too.
Yeah, that means from there to
A credit score is a portrait of someone's credit history, made up of several factors that we'll cover in a moment. This number is placed on a scale that helps prospective lenders evaluate how likely you are to pay your debts. This in turn determines what kinds of loans you can get. There are 5 factors that determine your score, and they all have varying levels of importance. Payment history is the most important piece of your credit profile, and it accounts for roughly 35% of your score. Makes sense too. If you've been responsible in the past, you could probably be trusted in the future. So avoid late payments at all costs. Amounts owed, or credit utilization, is the second most important factor, coming in at about 30% of your score. Now, this part is important because notching a good credit score doesn't mean that you don't borrow. In fact, not using your credit is almost worse than using tons of it. You want to show that you can handle a reasonable amount of debt without going off the rails. One of the more obvious factors in a credit score is the length of your credit history, which counts for 15% of your number. It's like in those old movies where a shop owner lets one of his regulars run up a tab because he knows he's good for it. Same goes with credit. The longer you've been borrowing, the better. Finally, types of credit and new credit each account for 10%. Types of credit reviews how many sources of borrowing you use, like a car loan, mortgage, credit card. The more diverse, the better. New credit takes into account how often you take on credit you don't need, like applying for a credit card at 5 of your favorite new stores. So while you can't have a credit score of 1,000, you can make sure you're taking the right steps toward a great credit score. Come to think of that, these tacos do sound pretty good right about now.
Same.
Hey there, I'm thinking we
We
should
can go
go
for some tacos too.
If you'd like to watch more,
So what was the biggest thing you got out of that video? That way we can answer these questions. So you guys know the minimum and maximum for the credit score. What is it?
300.
300 to 850, so that's what I want right there. And one thing he said that I don't think I know if I talked about, maybe I have, not using credit is probably just as bad as having low credit, right? So if you're not going out and actually like trying to improve your credit, that's seen as like you're a risk, right? So do try, I'm not saying go out and get 6 credit cards right now. I'm just saying be smart on what kind of loans you guys get, okay? And if you need help, I'm more than willing to help you find like good credit starter, I call it a credit starter pack. Like I told you guys the story. I went to New Center, I said, what can I do to improve my credit? They're like, oh yeah, we give you a small loan of $500. And what I did is just use that $500, I put gas in my car every week or so, and I paid back on it. It was simple, it helped me improve my score pretty significantly. And then obviously, do you ideally want to have a high or low credit score? What are some benefits of having a high credit score? Yeah, exactly. Lower interest rates. What's the other one? We talked about it. You can qualify for more loans, right? Does that make sense? So high, you want to put higher. Karen, key number 3, please.
Payment history and total debt together compromise 65% of your score. Why do you think it's so high?
So payment history and total debt together comprise 65%. Why do you guys think it's so high? Those are the biggest determinants of your credit score. Yeah, so the payment history shows what? Yes, Nate.
So, hold on. Higher credit score, like, higher credit scores involve lower interest rate.
Yeah.
So you can qualify for.
Yeah, you answered the third one, which is great, but we're on to the fourth one. So it says payment history and total debt. So remember that total debt, if you guys are always maxing out credit cards, that's your total debt. If you owe $1,000 plus interest, and the interest rate is 26%, you're paying that $1,000 back plus 260. So obviously, you don't want your total debt to be that high because you're seen as a risk. Everything you do is probably, everything you do and don't do can be seen as a risk or a benefit. Okay, so weigh out those consequences when you guys are doing this. So what you're gonna put right here is, whoops. Why do you think it's so high? Basically what you guys think. So you guys can use what I said. It's higher because you guys are probably typing much faster with me because I'm holding my computer in my hand. History shows total debt shows what? What did I say total debt shows? If you are exceeding your credit limit. Or not. Which is great. You never want to get close to your limit, and you never obviously. Some companies will allow you to like exceed your limit at a higher interest rate than what you're already paying, and some will just get declined, right? I don't know about you guys, but I've had my card declined. I don't have a credit card, but I have a debit card. That just means I'm out of funds, right? Like if I have $200, I spend it throughout the week, and I have to put gas in my car, and it costs $30, but I only had $10 left, right? It'll just say card declined. You can't get gas here, right? I guess gas is a little different, so because I use my card. Like groceries, right? You bring up a bill that says card declined. Credit cards companies do the same thing. And this is kind of like an opinionated question. Do you think this system is fair? This method, I should say, for calculating credit scores is fair?
No.
Why do you think it's not fair, Nate?
Because you're asking the bank for a certain amount of money and they're putting interest on it, higher interest. So eventually you're paying back more money than you borrow.
No, the system for calculating your credit score. Do you think it's fair, like, if Castillo misses a payment, he misses one payment and his credit score is high, doesn't seem fair that his credit score comes down, not a lot, but like a little? Do you think that's fair? And the same thing should happen if he makes an on-time payment? Do you think his credit should go up? That's what I'm talking about.
I think it should Does it matter if it's multiple payments?
Multiple, what do you mean by multiple payments?
Like, if they miss like 3,
They missed 3? Well, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't decrease it a lot. And KJ can probably talk more about this with his mom because he was talking about it earlier. Yeah, it comes down a little bit if you miss one payment, but if you are consistently missing monthly payments, then it's going to drop you down a lot. And same thing with if you make early payments, right? It's definitely going to boost your score up if you make early payments. Does that make sense? Everybody? Okay, cool.
not that high.
So I'm not gonna type anything in there for you, because that's an opinionated question. Okay, I want you to put, do you think this method of calculating credit scores is fair? Yes or no? Just make sure you justify it, why. Okay? I'll give you guys like 5 minutes to do that. Not even 2 minutes. In my opinion, I think it's fair. Kind of like how he explained in the video. It's kind of like rent, you guys aren't old enough.
Why do you think it's fair?
Because I see it like kind of, you know, if you have a buddy and he's like, he's a mechanic, right? And you don't have the money to pay for the repairs he did on your car right now, but he knows you're good for it. It's kind of the same thing with credit. Like, yeah, he'll pay eventually, or she'll pay eventually, right? Credit works the same way. Oh, and if he doesn't, I'm gonna come after him, I'm gonna sue him. Kind of not the same thing with credit, but that's for a different time. You guys a couple more. And you guys can talk about it in groups. Go ahead. Yeah.
My mom had written down credit, and like, her information got taken, like.
Really? Like she was part of identity fraud?
No, like, she had this backpack, a small one, and had her birth certificate, her social and stuff, she left it on the bus and they stole it. And then, but whoever did it, they're like, they made her credit score better, because it was paying for everything, so it's kind of.
Okay, but you still canceled everything, right? Like you should
Yeah.
go to somewhere and,
Yeah, she red flagged everything.
oh my gosh, they improved or something. That's
Yeah.
okay, well, I guess things like that can happen, yeah. Absolutely. You guys don't ever have to ask this question. Well, tell me before you go. Alright, let's move on to this. So we're actually gonna use this like interactive method and kind of do what we did the other day with credit scores. We're gonna see how different credit scores around the country affects the country. So let's go to this. You guys can actually click on the little blue link. And then we'll answer the questions. So you guys are gonna read off the questions. I'm gonna be on that, okay? So let's talk about what these mean. Prime, near prime, and subprime. Does everyone see where I'm looking at? I'm gonna go around and make sure you guys are on this real quick. Good. Click on that blue link. Blue link on number 4. Blue link number 4. That's what you should do. Yep, really click that. There you go. Blue link, did you click on it, sir? Click on the blue link in number 4. Yeah. That's how I say it. Yeah. Just use that. We're on number 4. So you guys can actually follow along, but know that I'm gonna have the map up there. Okay, good. So be on your sheet that you're gonna type on, and I'll help you with this part, okay? So what's the first question asking? Somebody. Audrey, what's the first question? The first question on your packet.
What states that one?
Yeah.
Okay. What states have the highest percent of their credit economy with prime credit scores?
Alright, so we have to first know what prime means, right? What prime, near prime, and subprime. Prime is top of the line. You have good credit. That's usually from 750 to 850, right? That's prime. Think of prime state, right? You want the best of the best. Near prime is okay. That's like anywhere from 500 to whatever I said, 650. And then subprime is 300 to 500. 300 to 500. Does that make sense? So the first question is asking what states have prime? Did you say that?
Yeah, what states have the highest percent of their credit score or credit economy with prime credit scores?
Okay, so you guys scroll over your mouse, go back to the page I'm on. right now. And then scroll over all the dark blue states, and you're gonna find,
Wait, Craig, we're on number 1.
yeah, we're on number 1, section 4. So hover over just the blue states, these dark blue states, and then find out which ones have the highest. Minnesota, let me see if I know my states. Right here, 63.9, alright, I'm gonna make sure. 63.9. I think she's right.
Minnesota.
Yep, Minnesota, so let's write the top 3, because it says states plural, I believe. What states have the highest percent, so let's write that one for sure.
New Hampshire?
New Hampshire?
No, wait, no, not New Hampshire. Wait.
So I hear Vermont and New Hampshire.
Yeah, Vermont.
Yeah, Vermont is 63.2. Let's get one more. I see a 61 in Colorado, 61.6. Washington, maybe?
Oh, no, North Dakota, 62 something.
South Dakota, you mean?
No.
And north is 62.1, but if you go south, it's 0.1% better. So your 3 states should be
Minnesota, Vermont.
in South Dakota. Nate and Tiana, read off the next question. Once you're done typing it.
South Dakota.
Yeah, the last one. So Minnesota, Vermont, South Dakota. Yeah,
Number 2,
yeah, the second question.
what state in the country has the highest percent of their credit economy with subprime credit scores?
Yeah, so subprime are all the yellow, brownish ones right here. So we're gonna look just over the orange and yellow states now. Which one has the highest subprime?
Texas.
Texas at 43.
South Carolina.
44.3. So it's just, we're just looking at these bottom states. The southern states, just to say. 44.3, yeah. South Carolina. So you're just gonna put South Carolina right there.
And
For
number
one,
2?
Yeah, for number 2. South Carolina. It says which state? Like one state?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just putting one answer there.
For one of those Minnesota,
Vermont.
South Carolina.
Everyone good? Am I going too fast? Anybody? Okay. Let me know if I'm going too fast, please. Car, ill. God, I'm sorry. Alright, read off the third question.
Which challenges might people living in the country or state with the highest concentration of subprime scores be facing as a result of the low credit scores?
Alright, so what challenges will they face, or what consequences do these yellow states face by having bad credit scores?
They won't get as high loans.
They won't get as much, yeah, they won't get as much money. What else?
Bills with that, they don't pay their bills as much.
Yeah, and what does that do to the credit score? Right? Well, besides already having a bad credit score, it's going to lower their score even more, but I'm looking for something else that negative. Higher interest rates. So the challenges are not as much money as Nate said. They won't qualify for as much money that they want. And then they'll also be at a higher interest rate. So you're paying more of money to the bank than the actual principal of the loan. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna give you a couple seconds to type that in. Four, they won't qualify for as much money. And I'll read off the last one. Or I'm sorry, the last two. Alright, as you scroll over the different states, pay attention to the breakdown of percentages between prime, near prime, and subprime. What patterns do you notice? What might be the cause of this distribution? So, what do you guys notice about just looking at the map? What do you guys notice? A lot of blue. Where? What part of the country? So I call this right, if I were to break it down, this is the northern part of the country, this is the southern part. Texas is very southern, they talk like this. They also talk like it probably over here in Louisiana, all that. Why do you think that is? Why is there such a distribution between the north and the south? Anyone have a guess why there's poor credit scores right here and not up here? I'm sorry? No, I'm saying, one more time, I won't ask again.
It's because they're closer to like migration points, like Texas and New Mexico and all that.
Well, we're actually, New Mexico is in the near prime. These are subprime states right here. These people have the worst credit scores right here. Why do you think that is? And then all the people with good credit scores are in the northern part.
Poverty, maybe the poverty rate.
That's what I was looking for. Poverty, the distribution between the wealthy and the poor, right? So I'm not judging these states. I don't think that these states are technically poor states, but most of the people who have the worst credit scores tend to be more in poverty. Does that make sense? So that's how you're gonna answer that fourth question. The distribution between wealthy and poor, right?
It makes sense. Half the people here live off of disability and
Yeah,
social security
exactly.
and
Food stamps, you need, right?
WIC, all that.
Wait, all that stuff.
EBT.
I'm kind of surprised that we're not in there, but, well, this is data, but imagine this is data from 2 years ago, this is 2017. So it's a little behind, so next year we'll get, in 2020, we'll get 2018 information. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
So-
I should know, but my mom works for the state.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she works for Human Resources.
Oh, really?
She literally does all this, like,
The distribution between the wealthy and the poor.
Yeah, guys, feel free to like talk to each other.
What was the first one?
First question?
Yeah.
Someone help him out.
Vermont, Minnesota, and South Dakota.
So distribution between wealthy and more poverty. That's what I would say for number 4. Alright, now we're gonna look specifically at New Mexico and our county, right? How do credit scores in your county compare to those of your state and the nation? So all I'm gonna do, you guys don't have to scroll back, so I'm gonna click on New Mexico right here. And I'm gonna click on our county, right? So let's compare, right? All we have to do is compare the numbers. Is this number greater than or less than the other 2 numbers? So what do you guys notice about our prime scores? Scores between 720 and up. How do we compare to the state and the nation? So really there's gonna be 3 sentences you're gonna put for this answer. So yeah, we're below the national average, but we're above the state average for prime scores. So those are scores 720 and up.
Oh, we're Bernalillo, right?
Hmm?
Bernalillo, right?
Yeah, we're Bernalillo County. We're that small little one in the middle. Little geography for you guys. Well, you guys know what county is above us and below us? North and south of us? Is it Valencia?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it tells us right there. Alright. Alright, now let's look at our near prime scores for Bernalillo County. I'm not calling it much of a difference. Look, it's a 1/10% difference. So you can just say our near prime scores are with the national average and the state average. Does that make sense?
No.
So now we're on near prime. We're just talking. So our near prime scores are 660 to 720. And how does Bernalillo County compare with the state and the nation? Well, there is a difference here. It's a 1/10% difference, or 0.2% difference between the national and the county, right? So you can say they're about the same. You can say, yeah, it's 0.2% smaller than the national average, and it's 0.1% difference between the state. But if you guys say they're the same, I'll accept it. Tell me if I'm going too fast. I tend to do that.
What's the average?
And then, oh, sorry, last one, we didn't look at the subprime scores. So now we're on these scores, below 660. So let me hover over Bergen County. Kind of a big difference, right? We're below in both, right? We're below the state average and we're below the national average for subprime scores. So that's why I want you to type that. Oh, for the subprime? Yeah, so we're actually below both. Because see, as you see, the state average is 36.5, and then the national is 30.5. Oh, I'm sorry, we're above the national, below the state. With people with subprime scores. National, we're above the national average for subprime, but below the state average for subprime. I think we're gonna finish this one. And this is where I stopped with, oh no, we did. So you guys are actually gonna work in partners for this one. I'm gonna do it differently from first period. You guys, let's actually go back to your Google Classroom. You guys are gonna actually find out your credit score if you were to have credit. And if you don't, you can use my information. So, I'll actually click on this. We're gonna use my FICO credit score estimator, just estimating your FICO score, right? Some of you may know, and some of you have this information ready to go. So can you guys see this score, this page?
How many credit scores do you have?
Credit cards.
Oh, credit card.
Let me pull it up a little bit.
See, I can only see it.
So we'll just do this together. You guys, I don't mind sharing my kind of information. I have no credit cards. I only have debit cards. A debit card. How long ago did you get your first loan? So my first loan with Lucinda was about 2 years ago. So I'm gonna put 2 to 5 years ago. A little over 2 years. How many loans or credit cards have you applied for in the last year? I've only applied for one. It was for a house. How recently have you opened a new loan or credit card? Less than 3 months ago. I'm gonna click on that. How many of your loans and or credit cards currently have a balance? 0 to 4. I'm gonna say like 2 of them do. I guess I lied. I do have a credit card. It's this Zales card that I got my fiance. I lied. I forgot about that. But yeah, there's only a balance of
That's not really like a real credit card.
It's not a real credit card because I only
It's
use
only
it at
balance on your
Zales.
sales.
Yeah, I can't just go to Walmart and
That's a
slide my
different
sales card.
That's a different kind of credit though. The credit they're talking about for the credit card is like the in-store credit, like whatever you buy, there's always a percentage that they get back from the store that they can give you.
Right.
That's the credit
Yeah.
card
So
on the
yeah.
card.
So yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna leave it like
It's
that.
like cashbacks basically.
Exactly.
But they
Yeah.
put
And I
it
don't
on
have
the
a credit card then in that case. Yeah, you're right. Besides any mortgage loans, what were your total balances on all other loans? If you guys want to do this on your own, answer it for yourself. That's fine. But if not, you can use my information right here. Besides any mortgage loans, what are your total balances on all other loans? Don't judge me, guys. I'm gonna hit that one. Don't worry about it. When did you last miss a loan or credit card payment? I've never missed a payment. I'm proud of that. How many of your loans and or credit cards are currently past due? So how many late payments do I have right now? I have 0. What percent of your total credit card limits do your credit card balances represent? I've never had a credit card, so I'm just gonna do that. In the last 10 years, have you ever experienced bankruptcy, repossession, or an account in collections? No way, I've not. So that should be my FICO score, which is actually pretty close. I'm not the mine's 690, so it's like right in the middle. Not right in the middle, but it's 10%. It's 10 points higher than that, and 40% lower than that. Okay, so you can use my information to answer those. I'm gonna let you guys do that for the next 10-15 minutes before you guys leave. I'm gonna come around and you guys can work together on that. So if you guys click on that, you should see this sheet. Go ahead and answer those. Let's read this together though, actually. As a reminder, this pie chart describes how your credit score is calculated, using 5 different components of your credit history. So remember, length of history, credit makes, new credit, your payment history, how much you owe. So you guys are assigned to be a credit counselor for Sam, Jessica, and Daniel, whose profiles follow. For each person, follow the directions to understand the impact of certain financial decisions on their credit scores. Sam Spendthrift is a college junior. Couldn't wait until he turned 21 so he could apply for a few credit cards. Here are some details about his profile. He currently has, for each of Sam's actions, whether you think that factor improves, plus, or decreases credit score. So what do you guys think here? Should we put a plus or a minus? Oops, let me go back to my, hold on. So I heard one minus, why? You just said it? How come you just said it? You gotta have a reason. Does anyone have a reason why? Anybody? Anybody at all? He currently has 3 credit cards. Should I put a minus or plus right there? Is that gonna decrease his credit score or increase his credit score? Depends on what? If he's making payments on the cards, absolutely. What else? If he's using it, there's actually one more thing. Is he exceeding his limit? Right? Is he getting close to his limit? If the limit is $1,000 and he's at $950, that's close to his limit, right? So, for right now, let's put a minus. Make it big so someone can see it. He got his first credit card 8 months ago. Plus or minus? I would say plus, because he's using his credit history, his payment history. I'm going to put a plus right there. Shift plus. Doesn't have any student loans. Definitely a plus. Trust me, that sucks. Okay. He has applied for 5 credit cards in the last year and had 3 applications accepted. Hope you guys get this one. Minus. Because guess what? Those are inquiries. Remember when we talked about inquiries? So each of those 5 credit cards that he applied for, those are inquiries. Meaning someone looked at his credit score and then they had to decide whether or not they're going to give him a credit card. Does that make sense? So we're going to put a minus right there. Thank you. He opened his last credit card 4 months ago. Open, meaning he got a credit card, he was qualified for a credit card. Plus or minus? This one's interesting because remember we talked about new credit and how it only makes up 10% of the calculation of determining your credit score. So it's not going to hurt him, but it's actually overall minus because it's new credit. The new credit does determine it just a little bit because they see you as you're always needing money. So they're like, in their minds, they're like, why is this person always wanting more credit, more money? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so. All 3 of his credit cards currently have a balance. He has had trouble paying off his card each month. That one should be easy, yeah, minus. Are you guys filling this out too? Oh, it's not letting you. Oh, someone stopped me. Sorry. I wonder why it's not. Go. Oh, okay. For this one, guys, we're actually going to stop. We'll come back to this because you guys are actually supposed to go back to your Google Classroom and I have it right there. It's interactive FICO. So we're going to stop right there. I'm going to have you guys work on your projects, your credit timeline history projects that are not going to be due for a while. Don't stress about it. They're not going to be due to the end of the 6 weeks. But it's a huge detailed project. Okay. So this is about where I stopped with the other class too. So go ahead and I'm going to coach your honey. I don't mind if you guys work together in groups, but you guys need to have your own ideas, your own names on your paper. Okay. Go ahead. I'm going to let you guys just work on your projects. Cool. Yeah, sure, I'll be right back.